Hello, thank you for joining us today. My name is Samira Tilly, Industry Marketing Manager at Assemble Systems, an Autodesk company. In today's webinar, we will look at how AIA is using Assemble to control the schedule and construction process through 5D BIM. Now let's get started. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Tim Kelly, Senior Product Manager at Autodesk. Go ahead, Tim.
Thanks, Samir. Appreciate that. As Samir mentioned, it's Senior Product Manager for Assemble. And ultimately, our group takes care of a kind of a broad spectrum of quantification workflows and ultimately how model information is organized. So my experience, my background is in VDC and construction. I've worked in both pre-construction and in and around estimating and planning and in the field as well. My background and my degree is in construction management, and so I'm super excited to have Tomas here with us today to talk about their workflow and what's going on with his organization in Colombia. So Tomas, why don't you tell us a bit more about yourself?
Hello team, thank you for the invitation. Very happy to be here. I started working at AIA in 2013. Back then I worked as a site engineer in residential buildings. Then I moved to infrastructure projects where I participated in both bridges and tunnel projects, also as site engineer. In 2016, I joined it for a while to the bidding and estimating process at the company. And from there, we started developing all the BIM implementation process at the company. So we started using models like for quantification and for some little coordination, for understanding the scope of the projects. In 2017, we created the BIM department in the company, and on December from last year, we decided to move for a virtual design construction department, as we understood that we were making more construction processes and not so much about designing processes. So we decided to move our BIM department to a virtual design construction department, which is the process that I am leading right now.
That's fantastic. And it sounds like you have a very comprehensive background and experience, and certainly really excited to see your take on how you guys are leveraging Assemble. So those of you that are online and new to Assemble, ultimately just a quick introduction is we're a web-based application that consumes and organizes model content. You can bring that information in from a number of different authoring systems, and what we call condition, which is add other data, add construction relevant information to that content and organize it and leverage it for a number of different workflows. You actually see a bunch of those work processes on the screen right now, but our interaction between the visual representation of that data and ultimately the data that you're leveraging in those different workflows is about adding an additional lens at the way you look at your project, an additional way that you can visualize and communicate and understand what's going on the job. So we use that for a lot of work in quantifying and aggregating quantities and data related to pre-construction, and then we also use it in ways that Tomas is going to talk further about today around tracking and organizing packages as you move through the course of construction. Tomas, why don't you tell us a bit more about AIA?
AIA is a construction company that has been in the market for 70 years. We do have like an average income of $100 million in construction. We are expecting to earn around $60 million for this year. We have around 600 direct employees and above 2,000 indirectly. We are delivering to our customers around 100,000 square meters every year. And we have achieved and delivered to our customers more than 700 projects in different market segments. So here in the map, you can see we have worked all around Colombia. We have also been present in Panama and Ecuador and Chile. We do have these 4 business units. So we are oriented to building infrastructure projects, building projects, and we do have some architectural design, which is awesome here in our company, that I am leading a process that is more from the perspective of the infrastructure and the building projects. And we also have our own real estate development. So here at the right side, you can see some of the projects that we have designed and built. These ones are some office buildings here in Medellin. And here you can take a glimpse in some big infrastructure projects with tunnels and bridges. So what our challenge here? Our challenge is taking all the information that we put inside a 3D model and using it to leverage the way we make decisions. So you can see we are going to go through a process where we use the model to put some critical information over there so we can take it to our project team and our managers, our senior managers, to make better decisions and make them on time, keeping the status of the project clear and letting every stakeholder of the project, letting them know how the project is developing so far. So how Assemble is going to help us with this is just the capability that it allows us to use the model as container for critical information like the budget and like the schedule. Some of the ways that Assemble help us is letting non-Revit users to manipulate and feed this information into the model. This one was one of the critical challenges over here, and it was about giving this information and letting all the people around the project interact with the model without having the chance to damage the information or damaging the model a lot at all. So finally, with the Excel add-in that you guys have developed, Assemble and Excel let us add some intelligence to the model and make some decisions by itself. So we don't have to be very manual over here. So we can add some logic to these models and let the program make the hard work. And we have some clear time and clear space to make decisions and to look for critical problems. Which are the key features that Assemble is giving to us over here? So one of the main features is we are web-based or iPad with an application. So one of the important features here is I don't have to have a very expensive machine, a high-end technology to be able to access the models from any computer. I only have to get some quiet, good internet connection with some good speed, and that's all I need as a hardware. No software to manage. We don't have like any trouble with the license or anything that I have to install in my Windows or my Mac OS. It's just a web page. The navigation is pretty simple, and as I have already said, it's so easy to use, and there is no chance that any user in Assemble can damage the information that is hosted in the model. So we can keep our minds in peace over this issue. And simultaneous access. So this is pretty important for us because we are currently we have around 50 to 20 active projects, and we don't have a very clear way to know how many projects I am going to have at every time. So it's pretty good that I don't have to use a single user license or a single project license over here. It's just about having the entire license, and I don't have to care about how many projects or how many people or how many stakeholders are involved into each project. And the key feature over here is the information being accessible from the file. So I don't have to take notes on the file and go back to my office or to the main office and making the work all over again just in the computer. I can capture the information right from the tablet I can picture the site progress, and I can capture it right from the tablet to the assembled platform.
Excellent stuff, and quick couple of notes on that, just to clarify. I think there's some good points in there that are relevant to a number of the listeners. First, there is, as you mentioned, kind of separating the work you're doing on classifying and conditioning from the information that's in the model. Within Assemble, you have the ability to add data on top of the information you're getting out of Revit or out of the authoring system. And we do restrict certain properties, certain things that you certainly wouldn't want to change. That would be, parametric information that's contained within the model and managed in the authoring system. So we do make sure there's a clear-cut definition or distinction between those property sets. And another quick note is the access from the field team. We do have, in the case that you're in a situation where your field team is in an area where internet connection is possibly poor, we do have on our iPad application an offline mode where you can do your work on that iPad, and then once you've reconnected to the internet, that can be synchronized back to the database.
Yeah, we do use like the offline feature for the iPad. It is essential for us also. So let's go on through the case study. So here we are going to use one project that is under development right now. I hope it will help us to show you guys how is this process of controlling the schedule and the cost control using this platform. So our case study is about CIUDADELA Universitaria de Occidente, which is of course a university, a public university here in Medellin. Here you can take a glimpse. It's all about like 13 different buildings that are like 5 stories height and some quiet site development. We have here around 25,000 square meters of building construction, around 30,000 square meters of landscaping, and we are building some new capacity for up to 8,000 new students in the city. And the special thing about this project is it's all about social transformation around a place that has been affected by violence here in the city. So the site of the project used to be a jail for women, and it is a public project. So one of the main key features of this project is that it is the first public project here in Colombia that has some BIM requirements for the general contractor for the bidding process. So that's actually one of the main reasons that AIA won the bidding, is because we had the BIM experience to make the project come true. So it's a project that is financed by the Empresa de Desarrollo Urbano, that is a public company here in Medellin that is in charge of the landscaping and the urban development of the city. So which were the project expectations? The project expectations were around being able to track the status of the process, of the construction process at any point in the time, giving some transparency to the information around the project, because there are a lot of stakeholders for public projects. We don't have only our client, but a lot of different people that want to know how is the project going on. The visual management as a tool to let non-expert people around construction, giving them the possibility to get to know how the project is advancing according to the schedule. The inversion tracking, so how much money have I spent in the project at every day, using the earned value and earned schedule control, which is this curve that I am watching over here. That is the way we in our company is the method that we in AIA use to measure the development of a project and to see if we have to make some critical decisions or if the project is going well. So the biggest step we made here is making this process through Assemble helped us to get the information up to date with only one night on delay between the real status of the project and the information that our managers are getting on their computers. So how are we doing this? The first step is we are making a bunch of new parameters inside Assemble, which was the feature that Tim was talking earlier. So here you can see that we are making some scheduling grouping, some record grouping, some unit price analysis grouping, and some provisioning grouping. And here you can take a look in the type of parameters that we are using. So we did some translation over here, as we are a Spanish company, but we are giving you like some translation of the parameters that we are using. So you can see I am adding some start date, some end date, and this parameter that it works like an executed yes or no parameter, which is the one that our site engineers are using to let us know if any element of the project is already built or it is yet to be built. And here you have the schedule status. So the magic about this is we never feed this information manually from the platform. We use the Excel add-in for it to get feed. Here you can see the unitary price analysis, and here you can see like some other general, some locations, some coding, and some cost code parameters that we also use. And these ones from the unit cost and the total cost, there are some parameters. For example, this total cost is a parameter that runs automatically from the platform of Assemble. So once we do have like these empty containers ready in the model, we do have like the heavy manual process here, and is getting to check every element in my model and matching this element with its own item in the schedule and with its own item in the budget. And I have to take this information from my budget and this information from my schedule and feed it into the Assemble model. So this may be the hardest and the longest process of all the workflow here.
One key thing to add in what you're talking about here is it's important to note that we're not working with a file, that you're working with objects. That means that you have the flexibility to have different budget information than schedule information, and that be as granular as you need it to be. So in some cases, you're selecting a big chunk of the building, a number of objects that have a particular location code or value or a schedule value, and that's different than the set of objects that might be pertaining to the specific budget information or cost information that you're feeding in. So I think it's a fantastic workflow in kind of articulating or showing the setup that you have here. And certainly interested to see how you're pre-populating some of this or automatically populating some of this.
So the magic about this is once you have all this information populated in the Assemble model, I can use the Excel add-in to download all this information to an Excel template, and I can, here is where I add some intelligence to the model. So it's just about writing down some conditionals that are going to look around this set of questions. So our Excel is going to ask if a task is done, and it will be yes or no, as I was showing around here. It will be a yes/no parameter, and then it will look out for the day, the current date of the day you are running the analysis, and will check the start and the finishing dates for every element, and it will answer if the element should be done by that date or should not be done by that date. So at any combination of every of these four paths, you will have a task that is on time, ahead of time, delayed, or pending. And once we put this information from Excel back on Assemble, this is what it's going to look like. It's going to look like you have some activities on time, some activities ahead of time, some activities are delayed, and we do have some more color codings over here. Maybe you can watch around here a little yellow stuff. This is because we are going forward from these 4 possible states, and we are filtering the look ahead work for one week and for a couple of weeks ahead of the time that we are running the analysis. So the model is helping us to communicate to every stakeholder and every team member what's the status of the project, but not only the status, but where they should focus for the several coming weeks. So they should know that I have to put some resources around here so I can finish these activities by the end of this week. So how this works in the actual project. So in the actual project, I have a job site progress. I have a site engineer that is going to use a tablet to feed the information of the actual progress of the site to Assemble. Assemble will do its magic. It will run in the cloud. It will synchronize. And another person that is not this site engineer is going to process this information, send it to Excel, update Assemble project, and it's going to have some numbers for the earned value control, and he will send the tracking and the reports to the management areas. One key stuff around this process is these 2 little guys, they don't have to be in touch. They don't even know each other. It's all about collaboration around this linear process. And one of the other key features around this is we are making all this process in a daily basis, and it is not taking more than an hour to this guy, and it is not taking more than 5 minutes to this guy. So there is not a lot of effort around this process. It's almost automatically. So here we wanted to let you guys see a little demo so you don't have to believe me. So here is where the project begins. You have a traditional schedule in Microsoft Project where you have every activity and you have some starting date for every element and some finishing date for every element. And what we are going to do next is getting into Assemble and making something Assemble recommends a lot, that is breaking down all the model into little and more manageable packages. So what we are going to do here is take all the structure and I will isolate only this little building, and I'm going to create a work package for this little building. So right now I'm going to start feeding the information of the dates of my schedule to every element in the model. So right now you are seeing like I am feeding element by element, but actually there are several ways to make this much faster. I mean, Assemble inventory helps a lot to making some filters, so I can feed this information quite faster. And I can also use the Excel add-in to make this process much faster. And here we are making very similar process, but we are using here the budget, our budget list. So you can see I have some coding in the left, I have some description, I have some unit of measurement, and I have some unit price. So what I am going to do is just checking which elements of the model match with this description of the budget, and I am going to fit these elements with the item code and the unit price, which is what you guys can see over the Assemble parameters. So you can check like the columns match with the column code and with the column pricing. So once we have this information, we are ready to make the model look like this. So what we actually do is use the color by property tool in Assemble, and we give some matching colors for every possible status. So you are seeing that I am filtering based on the executed parameter here, but the way I'm going to fit this parameter is using Excel. So you can see here on the right side that I am downloading the information from Assemble to Excel. I am running my codes that are programmed under these buttons, and I will just feed the information back to Assemble, and it won't take more than the time it takes this video to play to make all this process. Which are the results? So we have used this process and this method in 4 different projects so far. We have an office building, this university, a residential building, and a bridge. So yes, it works for infrastructure. It's even easier. The challenge around the infrastructure is getting the model done, but it's much easier to use Assemble in an infrastructure project. One of the key things we achieved was reducing project reports from 1 month to 1 day. So we had these reports that kept coming on a monthly basis, and they were not very accurate around the real information of the project. So we felt we were not having enough information to make the right decisions. So we not only reduced this time from 1 month to 1 day, but we improved the report accuracy by at least 50%. How did we found out about this 50% is because for the first project we tried this, we ran a parallel version of the traditional way of tracking the status of the project, and we kept finding some big differences between both information, but the information that we processed in Assemble always had the right information. So we ended up trusting in Assemble and finding out that our last way of controlling was pretty inaccurate. And about qualitative value, we have improved a lot our decision making. Not only the decisions we are making, but the speed and the timing of the decisions. We have improved collaboration because before Assemble and before all of this process, all the models and all the process related to 3D models was directly responsibility for the BIM department or for the VDC department. So leveraging the model to all the stakeholders and all the project members is helping us to collaborate, and it is not about how the BIM process works as a silo, but it's all about how every stakeholder and every team member of the project is collaborating using the model. We have improved our handover process. This is pretty important because as we use Assemble and the 3D model to host critical information for the control of the construction process, we are obligating ourselves to keep the model up to date. So we are not having the traditional issue of having some models that are outdated through the construction process, and we don't see any more peak of effort at the ending process of a project to make the as-built models or as-built drawings. As we keep the model up to date every day, we have the handover process has been very easier for us right now. And the customer feedback has improved as they feel we are being more clear with the information and the tracking, and they are able to see the exactly same information that we are seeing. So there is no space for lies or for treats. So they feel better. They get to know better the process. They get to know better the results. They get to know better the projections. So they are feeling better.
Yeah, if you go back to that previous slide, I do want, like, that customer feedback, just kind of weighing in on, I think the important thing here is you are giving the customer peace of mind, and you are able to show through a different lens with those visuals more information, and have, again, that, that being qualitative value, something that's a bit intangible for them to not really say that this is helpful, other than like this gives them better insight, better information, better understanding of what's going on. And I think it's key that you're able to focus in on that interaction and that feedback from customers, that this sort of visual process, this sort of connected data across different workflows and different stakeholders in the project is very valuable. And I really appreciate you putting together both quantitative values and things that you guys are actually doing and measuring for the project, and qualitative that generally changes the way your group and your team working together, working with the owner. Tomas, we really appreciate it, and certainly this has been great information and a great case study to take a look at how you guys are using Assemble down in Colombia. So I appreciate the time. I really hope that everyone on the call today got a good understanding of the workflow you guys are doing and are interested in kind of taking a look themselves.